In 1985, the Princeton varsity had an outstanding season. They won the IRA for the first time in the history of Princeton University crew. The crew melded together because they had one purpose. The purpose was to go as fast as they possibly could.
Coach Gluckman has become a revered figure in U.S. rowing because of his work with elite athletes, but also because he took 3 different college programs to the top level.
The most significant message I can give to any rowing athlete is to just row the race. Think about the process. Don't think about the result until the race is over. And when it's history, then you can think about it.
Back in 1985, he was at the start of his career. He was a young man. He was very straightforward in dealing with us as athletes. He was very fair in his selection process, but he could also be tough.
This was a unique group of men. 5 of the oarsmen had never rowed before coming to Princeton.
Our first race, we were neck and neck all the way down the course, bow ball to bow ball, and at the end the other team pulled ahead to win. And I remember Coach was very disappointed. He pulled us together the next day in the locker room and gave us a talk that none of us was to forget.
Sometimes losses are the most important learning experience a crew could have. I got so annoyed. By the end of my little talk, I kicked a waste can, right through the locker room to point out that when you have an opportunity to win, you don't piss it away.
We improved through the season, and we had an opportunity to go to Henley. We made it to the finals of the Grand Challenge Cup, and then Coach Gluckman gave us an opportunity that not many college rowers get. He took us to Lucerne, Switzerland to row against national teams.
Lucerne, Switzerland is probably one of the best race courses in the world. And so this is an ideal place to test your crew. And every so often, a college crew, maybe once a decade, is capable of going there and competing at a high level. The quality of racing, the intensity of the racing, the emotion of the racing is very, very high. This is probably the last chance crews have to earn a spot on the World Championship team.
We felt lucky to be there racing in such an amazing place, and we didn't know much about the competition. The Russians, a month later, would win the World Championship. The West Germans would break into 4s, and one of the 4s would win the World Championship. In fact, there were world champions or Olympians in each of the boats. But over the course of the season and through many practices, we had developed a trust in each other.
The old adage says that practice makes perfect. I disagree. I think practice makes permanent. Everything we do in practice is reflected in our racing. So, if you want to race at the highest level, then practice each day like you're a champion. This one particular day, we had already done about 7 or 8 miles of steady state, and I asked the crew on the Green Bridge stretch, our favorite 500 meters at Princeton, to put 6 outstanding pieces together, not thinking about the next piece, but treating each piece independently. They would have as much rest as they wanted between each piece. The problem was after 3, I had to terminate the workout. It wasn't because they weren't working hard enough. They were working so hard, I was afraid that they were going to leave their best pieces here in the States. I frequently talk to athletes about developing their fitness. And part of developing your fitness is having the courage and the determination to use it, regardless of your position in the race. Never allow your position to deter you from using all the fitness you have. In Lucerne, at the 500-meter mark gone, we were already sixth. At the 1,000, we were last. And with 500 meters to go, we had 5 seconds to make up just to consider being in the medal.
With 500 meters to go, about 50 strokes, we were almost 11 seconds behind the Russians and more than 5 seconds behind the third place team, the East Germans. But we weren't thinking about where we were going to end up at the finish. This was our last race together as a crew, and we were just rowing.
And as I was watching the crews, I saw how our varsity was beginning to eat into the field. It wasn't as if the other crews were going slower. We actually were going to throw in the fastest 500 meters of that boat race. I was along the towpath at that point, approximately 250 meters from the finish. And it was here I began to jog a little bit, trying to see if I could keep up with the crews. With about 100 meters to go, I stopped so I could listen to the broadcaster. And I saw how 3 crews were lined up straight across, bow ball to bow ball, with less than 5 or 6 strokes to go. East Germany, West Germany, and Princeton. And at that point, I just stood still and waited. And all of a sudden, it was announced. Princeton garnered the 3rd spot. At that point, I sort of kneeled down and put my head in my hands and just was amazed at the production that that crew had, the kind of race, the kind of courage that culminated in an effort at a FISA regatta, coming to the podium and winning their bronze medal. Champions aren't defined by coming across the line first. Sometimes champions are defined by getting the most out of what you have.